Grace Mitchell had exactly 3 minutes before her life changed forever. She spent all of them arguing with a vending machine. The machine had stolen her dollar. Then it had the absolute audacity to mock her by displaying her choice. Row C4, a granola bar that looked ridiculously delicious. And then just ... refused to dispense it. Grace pressed her forehead against the glass. "Listen," she whispered to the machine. "I know you can hear me. I know you understand English. Just give me the granola bar and nobody gets hurt. You can both walk away from this." The machine just hummed back at her. Grace took that as pure defiance. "Oh, you want to play games? Fine, we'll play games." She rolled up her sleeves. "But when I win, and I will win, you're going to feel really, really silly." "Excuse me, miss?" Grace jumped and spun around. A security guard stood behind her, holding a clipboard and wearing the expression of a man who had seen far too much in his career. "Are you Grace Mitchell?" "Yes." Grace immediately straightened her blazer. "Yes, that's me, professional Grace Mitchell. Absolutely not threatening a vending machine right now. You're late for your first day." Grace glanced at her phone. Her heart dropped straight into her stomach. No. The meeting was at 9, not 9:30. How did she mess this up so badly? "I have to go." She grabbed her bag. "Tell the machine I'll be back." The guard just blinked. "What?" "Nothing. Professional statement. Very normal." Grace took off running toward the elevators, her heels clicking against the marble floor like a countdown clock to complete disaster. The lobby of Sterling Enterprises was enormous, all glass and steel and filled with important-looking people who definitely never ran anywhere. She dodged a man in an expensive suit, nearly collided with a woman carrying a tray full of coffee, and somehow managed to stay upright. Almost there. Just get to the elevator. Simple, easy. And that's when her heel caught. The crack in the marble floor was tiny, barely visible, but it grabbed her heel like it had been waiting for this exact moment its entire life. Grace felt time slow down. She saw her life flash before her eyes. Childhood birthday parties, high school graduation. That one time she fell into a fountain at the mall. Her arm started windmilling. Her bag flew open. And papers erupted into the air like confetti at the world's absolute worst celebration. Grace hit the floor. Hard. For a moment there was just silence. Pure, absolute silence. Then gravity remembered the papers existed, and they began to rain down all across the lobby. One landed perfectly in someone's briefcase. Another draped itself artistically over a potted plant. A third somehow made it into the revolving door and disappeared outside, probably to start a new, better life somewhere else. Grace just lay there on the cool marble, staring up at the ceiling. The ceiling was actually very nice. Clean, white, no cracks to trip on. "This is fine," she said to absolutely nobody. "This is a totally normal first day. People fall all the time. Builds character." "Miss Mitchell." Grace turned her head. The security guard was standing over her, still holding his clipboard. "Still late," he said, completely deadpan. "Right." Grace sat up. Papers surrounded her like a chalk outline at a crime scene. Getting up now. Definitely getting up. She scrambled to her feet and started frantically grabbing papers. Her presentation notes were mixed in with her resume, which was mixed in with what appeared to be a grocery list she'd completely forgotten about. Milk, eggs, dignity. She definitely needed all three. A group of employees had gathered near the reception desk, just watching. Grace gave them a little wave. "Good morning. Beautiful day. Love the marble? Very ... slippery. Should put that in the company brochure." Nobody responded. Grace just kept grabbing papers. 53 floors above all this, Vincent Sterling watched his security monitors with the intensity of someone studying a complex chess match. His office had 6 screens. 5 of them showed stock tickers, news feeds, and company data. The 6th one, however, showed the lobby. And on that screen, a woman with brown hair was currently crawling across his pristine lobby floor, talking to herself and collecting papers that seemed determined to escape her grasp. Vincent didn't move. Vincent never moved unless it served a specific purpose. His employees called him the statue. Some called him the robot. One brave soul in accounting had once called him the Ice King. And Vincent had simply raised an eyebrow, which somehow made the nickname stick even more. He had built Sterling Enterprises from nothing. 15 years of perfect decisions, calculated risks, and absolutely zero distractions. He didn't smile, because smiling wasted energy. Didn't laugh, because laughter served no function. Existed in a state of permanent, unshakable efficiency. The woman on the screen was the complete opposite of efficient. She had just managed to trip over her own feet while standing still. Vincent picked up his phone. "Send Miss Mitchell up when she arrives." "She's in the lobby now, sir," his secretary replied, her voice smooth as always. Vincent looked at the screen. The woman was now sitting cross-legged on the floor, organizing her papers into piles while having what looked like a full-on conversation with a potted plant. "Send her up in 5 minutes," Vincent said. "She needs time." "For what, sir?" He paused. "I don't know." Vincent ended the call and returned to his desk. Everything was perfectly organized. Pens aligned. Papers stacked. Computer screen angled for optimal viewing. His life was a machine, and he was the sole engineer. The intercom buzzed. "Sterling, the betting pool is up to $12,800. Vincent closed his eyes. The smile bet. Oh. His employees had been running it for 3 years. Whoever managed to make him smile would win the entire accumulated pot. So far, nobody had even come close. "Noted," he said into the intercom. "Should we add Miss Mitchell to the potential candidates?" Vincent glanced at the monitor again. Grace had finally stood up, clutching a stack of papers against her chest like a shield. She was talking to the security guard now, gesturing wildly, and of course, 3 more papers fluttered down from her pile. "No," Vincent said. "She's not a candidate." "Understood, sir." Vincent turned off the monitor. He had work to do, reports to read, decisions to make, company to run. He didn't have time to think about clumsy new assistants who talked to plants. But as he opened his laptop, he found himself wondering, what exactly had she said to that plant? And why did a small part of him, a part he thought had died years ago, actually want to know the answer? Downstairs, Grace finally made it to the elevator. Her papers were crumpled, her hair was a disaster, her heel was broken, but she was standing, and right now that felt like a major victory. "Floor 53, she said to the elevator button. "Please be kind. I've had a rough morning." The elevator opened immediately, and Grace stepped inside. As the doors closed, she caught a reflection in the polished metal. She looked exactly like someone who had just wrestled with a marble floor and lost. "You can do this," she whispered to her reflection. "You're Grace Mitchell. You've survived worse. Remember that time you accidentally set the office microwave on fire? This is nothing compared to that." The elevator began to rise. Grace watched the numbers climb. 10, 20, 30. Her impossible dream was so simple. Just one day without a catastrophe. One day where she didn't break something or trip over something or accidentally insult someone. Just one perfect, normal, boring day. The elevator reached floor 53. The doors opened. Grace stepped into the hallway and saw the reception desk with a nameplate that read, "Vincent Sterling, Chief Executive Officer." Her heart started hammering against her ribs. This was it. First impression time. Professional Grace. Competent Grace. Grace who definitely did not just fall flat on her face in the lobby. She walked toward the desk. The door to the main office was open, and inside, she could see him. Vincent Sterling, the man himself. Sitting at his desk, perfectly still, looking at his computer with the focus of someone solving world hunger. He was younger than she expected. Maybe or a Favre. Dark hair, a sharp jawline, and a suit that probably cost more than her car. He had an expression that suggested he had never experienced a single moment of joy in his entire life. Grace took a breath, then another. Then she walked through the door. "Mr. Sterling, I'm Grace Mitchell, your new assistant." Vincent looked up. His eyes were gray, not a warm, friendly gray. This was ice gray, storm gray. The kind of gray that made you want to apologize just for existing. "You're late," he said, his voice flat. "I know I had a situation with the lobby I saw." Grace felt her face catch fire. "Saw? I have monitors. Of course you do." Grace clutched her papers tighter. "I promise that's not representative of my normal work performance." "What is representative?" he asked. Grace paused honestly. "It's probably slightly better than that. Maybe 10% better. 15 on a good day?" Vincent just stared at her. Grace stared back. The silence stretched out like taffy. Then, Vincent did something unexpected. His eyes moved to her hair, then back to her face. "You have a paper," he said. "What? In your hair?" "It's a paper." Grace reached up. Sure enough, a sheet of her presentation notes was tangled in her hair like some bizarre corporate accessory. She pulled it free. "Would you believe this is a new fashion trend? No, worth a shot?" Grace smoothed her hair down. "So, should I sit somewhere? Or do you prefer your assistants to stand at attention like palace guards?" Vincent pointed to a desk just outside his office. "You'll work there." Grace looked at the desk. It was about 3 meters from his door, right in his direct line of sight. Perfect for constant supervision and judgment. "Great," she said, trying to sound cheerful. "Love it. Very cozy, like working in a fishbowl." But with more judgment, Vincent raised one eyebrow. It was the smallest movement, barely even visible, but somehow it communicated an entire paragraph of disapproval. Grace grabbed her papers and walked to the desk. As she sat down, she whispered to herself, "You survived the lobby. You can survive this. Just be professional. Just be normal. Don't talk to yourself." "Miss Mitchell," Grace froze. "Yes, you're talking to yourself." "No, I'm not. I can hear you." "That's impossible." I whisper very quietly. Not quietly enough. Grace swiveled her chair to face him. Vincent was watching her with those gray eyes that seemed to be calculating the exact weight of her soul. "I'll work on that," Grace said. The whispering, "I'll work on being more quiet, silent even, like a mime." "Do you like mimes?" "No. Yeah, nobody does." Grace turned back to her desk. "This is going great. Thanks so much for watching." If you enjoyed Grace's chaotic first day, don't forget to hit that like button. And subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. See you in the next video. Grace stared at the computer screen like it held the secrets of the universe. The login page blinked at her. Username, password. 2 simple fields that might as well have been written in ancient hieroglyphics. She glanced at Vincent's office. He was typing, his fingers moving across the keyboard with mechanical precision. Every movement was calculated. Even his breathing seemed organized. "Okay," Grace whispered to the keyboard. "We need to have a conversation. I need that password. You need me to have that password. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here looking decorative. And trust me, that's not my strong suit." The computer continued blinking. Grace sighed and pulled out her phone. Maybe there was an email with login information. She scrolled through her inbox. Spam. More spam. An advertisement for socks. Nothing helpful. You know what's funny? She kept her voice low, talking to the desk now. "Not funny, haha. Funny weird. I spent 4 years in college, got decent grades, learned actual skills, and now I'm defeated by a login screen. My parents are so proud right now. Somewhere my mother is telling her friends about how her daughter went to university to stare at computers without accessing them." Grace drummed her fingers on the desk. The office was too quiet. She could hear Vincent typing. She could hear the air conditioning humming. She could hear her own heartbeat, which seemed unreasonably loud. "This is fine," she continued her monologue. "This is what they call character building. Sitting in silence, not knowing passwords, slowly dying of embarrassment. Very character building. I'm building so much character right now. I'm practically a character factory." She risked another glance at Vincent. Was reading something on his screen, his expression completely neutral. How did someone maintain that level of emotional control? Grace's face showed everything. And she was happy everyone knew. And she was sad strangers offered her tissues. And she was confused, which was often she looked like a lost puppy. Vincent Sterling probably didn't even know what a lost puppy looked like. "The thing about impossible dreams," Grace whispered, leaning back in her chair, "is that they're supposed to be impossible. That's literally in the name. You still dream them, because what else are you going to do? Stop dreaming. That's depressing. So you dream about things like having one normal day. Just one. Wake up. Go to work. Don't fall. Don't break anything. Don't accidentally insult your boss by calling him a beautiful, expensive robot." She froze. Had she said that out loud earlier in the lobby, when she thought she was whispering? Grace felt sweat form on her forehead. No. She had definitely been whispering. Definitely. She was an excellent whisperer. Professional level whispering. Olympic gold medal in whispering. Inside his office, Vincent's typing had stopped. Grace didn't notice. She was too busy spiraling into her own thoughts. My other impossible dream, she continued, staring at the ceiling now, is to work somewhere where people smile. Not fake smiles. Real ones, the kind that reach your eyes. This place feels like a museum. Beautiful, expensive. But you're not supposed to touch anything. You're supposed to look and admire and keep your hands to yourself, and definitely not trip over the exhibits. She sat up and looked at the computer again. And another impossible dream. Figuring out this password before someone realizes I've been sitting here for 30 minutes doing absolutely nothing productive? That would be nice. That would be really nice. Grace pulled open the desk drawer. Maybe there was a note. Sticky note with the password written on it. That's what normal offices did, right? The drawer was empty except for a single pen. A very nice pen. Probably an expensive pen. The kind of pen that judged you for your handwriting. Even the pen is perfect, Grace muttered, holding it up to the light. Even the pen has better posture than me, Miss Mitchell. Grace nearly fell out of her chair. Spun around so fast the pen flew from her hand, sailed through the air and landed somewhere behind a filing cabinet. Vincent stood in his doorway. His expression hadn't changed. Still neutral. Still calculating. Still looking like he had never experienced a spontaneous emotion in his entire life. Grace's voice came out higher than intended. Hi. Hello. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? What time is it? Time is a construct anyway. You need the password. Grace nodded so hard her neck hurt. Yes, I do. It's very much. Desperately, actually. I was just about to ask right now. It's the exact second. I was forming the words. Vincent walked to her desk. He smelled like expensive cologne and intimidation. He leaned over her shoulder and typed something. The computer unlocked. Sterling 2024. He straightened. Capital S, the rest lowercase. Got it. Grace grabbed a sticky note and wrote it down. Sterling 2024. Very creative. It's very secure. Nobody would ever guess that. It changes monthly. Of course it does. Grace stuck the note to her monitor. Thank you. This is very helpful. Now I can actually work, instead of just sitting here having an existential crisis. Vincent didn't move. His eyes went to the sticky note, then to Grace's face. You talk to yourself. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. An observation. Grace felt her face burning. Sometimes, maybe, occasionally, it helps me think. It's a thinking strategy. Very common. Lots of people do it. But studies show that talking to yourself is actually a sign of intelligence. Do these studies exist? Probably somewhere. I'm sure someone studied it. Vincent's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. A flicker of something. Curiosity, amusement, existential confusion. Grace couldn't tell. Try to keep it quiet, Vincent said. The office has good acoustics. Oh no. Grace's stomach dropped. How much did you hear? Enough. Enough like the password conversation, or enough like the beautiful, expensive robot conversation? Vincent turned and walked back to his office. He paused at the doorway. When you dropped your pen, it went behind the cabinet. Maintenance can retrieve it tomorrow. He closed the door. Grace stared at the closed door. Then she looked at her computer. Then she put her head down on the desk. This is my life now, she whispered to the desk. This is what I've become. A person who loses pens and talks to furniture and accidentally tells her boss he has a beautiful, expensive robot on her first day of work. The desk, predictably, didn't respond. Grace lifted her head and logged into her email. There were 47 unread messages. One was from someone named Oliver Banks, with the subject line, "Welcome and good luck." She opened it. Hello, Grace. Welcome to Sterling Enterprises. I'm Oliver, the CFO and Vincent's best friend, though he would never use that term because emotions are inefficient. Quick survival guide for working with Vincent. 1. He's not actually a robot. 2. He doesn't smile, but that doesn't mean he's angry. 3. He hears everything, so assume all thoughts are spoken aloud. 4. The betting pool for making him smile is up to $12,800. 5. Nobody has one in 3 years. Good luck. You'll need it, Oliver. Grace read the email 3 times. Then she replied, Thank you for the guide. Question. Is there also a betting pool for how long assistants last before quitting? Asking for a friend? The friend is me. She hit send before she could overthink it. The afternoon passed in a blur of emails and phone calls and trying very hard not to talk to herself. Grace answered questions, scheduled meetings, and organized already organized files. Every time she glanced at Vincent's office, he was just working. No breaks, no stretching, just constant, relentless productivity. It was exhausting to watch. Around 4 o'clock, Grace's stomach growled. She had forgotten to bring lunch. The granola bar was still trapped in the lobby vending machine, probably laughing at her. She pulled out her phone and ordered food delivery. Then she remembered she was at work and probably shouldn't have food delivered to a Billionaire's office on her first day. Too late, the order was placed. 15 minutes. Grace went to Vincent's door and knocked softly. "Mr. Sterling, come in?" Grace opened the door. "I have a food delivery coming. I'll be right back." Vincent looked up. "You ordered food to the office?" "Yes. I forgot lunch." Human error. Very common among humans, which I am. Human. There's a cafeteria on the 12th floor. Grace paused. There is. Nobody mentioned that. Good to know. For tomorrow. Today I'm committed to the lobby delivery situation. Be right back. She practically ran to the elevator, got her food, and returned to her desk. Vincent was on a call. Grace sat down and unpacked her food. A sandwich, chips, a cookie. She took a bite of the sandwich and nearly moaned. "You know what's sad?" she whispered to the sandwich. "You're the best part of my day so far, not the job, not the career opportunity. You. A sandwich that says something profound about my life. Miss Mitchell." Grace jumped. A chip fell onto her keyboard. Vincent stood at his door again. "Did this man teleport?" "Yes." He gestured to his office. "Come here." This was it. She was fired. She walked to his office, leaving her sandwich behind, like a fallen comrade. Vincent pushed a file across the desk. "I need you to review this. It's the quarterly report. Look for inconsistencies." Grace picked up the file. The quarterly report. The same one she had scattered across the lobby this morning. She recognized the coffee stain on page 12. "Of course," she said. "I'll review it thoroughly, with great attention to detail and zero dropping." Vincent's mouth twitched. It was tiny, microscopic, barely visible, but Grace saw it. His mouth had twitched. Vincent cleared his throat, that's all. Grace nodded and backed out of the office. As she sat down, she realized her hands were shaking. An email from Oliver popped up. "I saw your reply. To answer your question, the record is 6 weeks. But she left for another job, not because she quit. You might break the record." He made his mouth twitch. Nobody makes his mouth do anything. Grace stared at the email. Then she looked at Vincent's office. Then she looked at her sandwich. This day, she whispered, is impossible. It's absolutely impossible. And somehow, I'm surviving it. A small thought formed in her mind. A dangerous thought. A thought that felt like the beginning of something either wonderful or catastrophic. Maybe impossible dreams weren't so impossible after all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed Grace's chaotic first day, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. See you next time. 3 weeks passed like a strange fever dream. Grace stopped falling in the lobby. She only tripped twice, which she considered a personal victory. She learned the password changes, memorized Vincent's schedule, and discovered that the 12th floor cafeteria made excellent coffee. She also learned that Vincent Sterling was more complicated than she thought. He arrived every morning at exactly 7. He left every evening at exactly 8. Between, he worked with the focus of someone trying to solve world peace through spreadsheets. He never raised his voice. He never showed frustration. He simply existed in a state of permanent control. But Grace was starting to notice cracks. Small ones. Tiny ones. Cracks that nobody else would see, like how he adjusted his pens exactly 3 times every morning. Or how he stared at the window for exactly 2 minutes at noon. Or how his jaw tightened whenever someone mentioned his father. Grace collected these observations like treasures. She didn't know why. Be because Vincent was a puzzle. Be because puzzles were more interesting than quarterly reports. Or maybe because something about him reminded her of herself. The control. The perfection. It's a desperate attempt to keep everything together so nothing could fall apart. The office had noticed Grace too. Oliver visited her desk twice a week with coffee and gossip. Natalie from reception had become her lunch buddy. Even the security guard, James, waved at her now without the clipboard. But the betting pool remained undefeated. $12,800? 0 winners? Grace hadn't tried to make Vincent smile. She wasn't even sure it was possible. The man had probably forgotten how. His face had settled into neutrality so completely that smiling would require an instruction manual. Then came the Thursday that changed everything. Grace arrived at 8 instead of 9. She had woken up early, couldn't fall back asleep, and decided to be productive. When she stepped off the elevator, the office was dark, except for Vincent's office. The door was open. The light was on. Vincent sat at his desk, looking at his computer with an expression Grace had never seen before. He looked tired, not physically tired. Emotionally tired. The kind of tired that came from carrying a weight nobody else could see. Grace stood in the doorway. She should probably leave. Come back later. Pretend she hadn't seen this moment of vulnerability. But her mouth had other plans. "Mr. Sterling, are you okay?" Vincent looked up. For a second, just a second, his mask slipped. Then it snapped back into place, perfect and impenetrable. "Miss Mitchell, you're early. I couldn't sleep." Grace walked to her desk and set down her bag. "Is everything okay?" "Yes, you look tired." "I don't get tired. Everyone gets tired." Grace turned on her computer. Even robots need charging. Vincent almost smiled. Grace saw it. The corner of his mouth lifted maybe 1 millimeter before he caught it and forced it down. "There's a situation," Vincent said. "A deal falling through. The investor pulled out this morning. 6 months of work gone." Grace sat down. "It sounds terrible. It's business. It happens. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt." Vincent looked at her. Really looked at her. His gray eyes weren't cold anymore. They were something else. Something softer. "No," he said quietly. "It doesn't." They sat in silence. The office felt different at this hour. Smaller. More intimate. Like they were the only two people in the world. "Can I help?" Grace asked. "With the deal? Unless you have $50 million? No. I have $23 and a subway card. Will that work?" Vincent's mouth twitched again. "Probably not." Grace pulled up her email. "Then I'll do what I can with spreadsheets and determination." "Just tell me what you need." Vincent studied her for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to her desk. He pulled over a chair and sat beside her, which was shocking because Vincent never sat beside anyone. Sat across from people, above people, but never beside them. "The investor wants guarantees," Vincent said. "Things I can't promise. Growth projections that are unrealistic. He's backing out because I won't lie. Then he's not the right investor." Vincent looked at her. "Sounds certain?" "I am certain." Grace met his eyes. "You built this company on honesty." "That's what Oliver told me. You could have cut corners. You could have lied. But you didn't. That's worth more than $50 million. Vincent was quiet. Then he said something Grace never expected. "Thank you." 2 words. Simple words. But they landed in the space between them like a gift. Grace smiled. "You're welcome." They worked together until noon. Vincent explained the deal. Grace asked questions. Some were smart, some were ridiculous. But Vincent answered all of them with a patience Grace didn't know he had. "What if," Grace said, leaning back in her chair, "you find a different investor? Someone who values honesty over projections?" "I've tried. Nobody wants the risk." "Then make them want it." Grace spun her chair to face him. "You're Vincent Sterling. You built an empire from nothing. You're the guy who doesn't smile because smiling wastes energy. That's terrifying and impressive. Use that." "Use what?" "Your intensity, your reputation. Walk into a room and make them believe that investing with you is the only logical choice." Vincent raised an eyebrow. "You want me to intimidate investors?" "No. I want you to be yourself." Grace gestured wildly. "More of the guy who organizes pens and reads reports like they're thriller novels. More of the person who cares so much about this company that he works 30-hour days without complaining. That person is worth investing in." Vincent stared at her. Grace felt her face heating up. She had said too much, crossed a line. But then Vincent did something extraordinary. He smiled, not a twitch, not a hint. A real smile, small but genuine. The kind that reached his eyes and made him look human instead of marble. Grace forgot how to breathe. "That's," Vincent said, clearing his throat and looking away, "not a terrible idea." The smile disappeared as quickly as it came. But Grace had seen it. She had witnessed the impossible. Her phone buzzed. Oh, it was Oliver. Did he just smile? I was checking the security cameras, and I swear I saw his face move. Grace glanced at the camera in the corner of the office. She texted back, "No idea what you're talking about." Oliver replied, "Liar. You did it. You broke the curse. The betting pool is yours." Grace put her phone away. Vincent was back at his computer, already working, the smile forgotten or buried deep. But something had shifted. Grace felt it in the air. A warmth that wasn't there before. The afternoon brought chaos. News spread about the failed deal. Employees panicked. Phones rang constantly. People rushed into Vincent's office with questions and concerns. Vincent handled it all with perfect composure. He explained the situation. He presented alternatives. He remained calm while everyone else fell apart. Grace watched him and felt something tighten in her chest. This was why he never smiled. Why he never relaxed. Because everyone depended on him. The whole company. Hundreds of employees, families, lives. That weight would crush most people, but Vincent carried it like it weighed nothing. Around 6, the office finally quieted. Only Grace and Vincent remained. Grace stood and stretched. She walked to Vincent's office. He was on his computer, typing something. "Mr. Sterling." Vincent looked up. His tie was loose. His hair was slightly messy. He looked more human than she had ever seen him. "I found something," Grace said. "Potential investor. Catherine Price. She runs a venture capital firm. She values long-term growth over quick returns. She wants honesty." I took the liberty of drafting an email. Vincent opened the folder she handed him. He read the email. His expression didn't change, but Grace saw his shoulders relax slightly. "This is good work," Vincent said. "Really? Really?" Vincent looked at her. "Thank you, Miss Mitchell." "Grace. You can call me Grace. Miss Mitchell makes me sound like a substitute teacher." Vincent's mouth twitched. "Grace. Vincent." They looked at each other. The moment stretched. Then Vincent's phone rang. He answered. "Yes." He listened. His expression hardened. When Grace watched as Vincent's entire body tensed, something was wrong. "I'll be there," Vincent said. Hung up. He looked at Grace. "I have to go. Family emergency. Is everything okay?" "No." Vincent grabbed his jacket. "Can you lock up?" Of course, Grace stepped aside. "Go. I'll handle everything here." Vincent walked past her, then stopped. He turned back. His gray eyes held something Grace couldn't name. "You're good at this," he said quietly. "Better than you think." Then he was gone. Grace stood in the empty office. She walked to Vincent's desk and sat in his chair. The view from here was incredible, but it looked lonely. Grace understood something then. Vincent didn't need someone to make him smile. Needed someone who understood why he couldn't. Someone who saw the weight he carried and didn't ask him to put it down, but helped him carry it instead. Her phone buzzed. It was Oliver again. "The betting pool wants to know if they should pay out. Did he smile or not?" Grace looked at the security camera. Then she typed, "He smiled." "Thought I'm not taking the money?" "Use it for the company charity fund." Oliver replied, "You're insane. That's $12,000. Grace smiled. "Some things are worth more than money." She locked up the office and took the elevator down. As she walked through the lobby, she passed the vending machine. The granola bar from 3 weeks ago was still stuck in row C4. Grace put in $1. She pressed C4. The machine hummed and the granola bar fell. "See?" Grace said to the machine. Impossible things happen all the time. Outside, the city was loud and bright. Grace walked to the subway thinking about Vincent, about his smile, about how tomorrow she would come in early again. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Because impossible dreams. Grace was learning were only impossible until they weren't. And somewhere across the city, Vincent Sterling sat in a hospital waiting room, thinking about a woman who talked to vending machines and somehow made the world feel less heavy. For the first time in 3 years, he smiled. Just a little, but it was enough. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more stories.